thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of November 5th through 11th. Let's get started. I'm using my computer as my notes today because I was having all kinds of technical difficulties with my printers and I'm so totally over it. I just gave up and decided to use my computer. So bear with me that this is sitting here blocking the whole screen. I apologize. I could not handle it anymore, so I was just totally giving up on making my printers work. We'll figure that out later. The first thing that sold was actually a Facebook Marketplace sale. It was the last of all of those suitcase speakers that we got from the B-Stock liquidation pallet. These were all of the ones that were not working or that we stripped of for parts to make the other ones work. And then it was also one Xbox subwoofer speaker that we got at a garage sale that we paid $10 for. And we actually weren't sure if that Xbox speaker worked. We didn't really know how to effectively test it. So rather than sell it, it was really heavy too. So rather than sell that and try to ship it on eBay, we just lotted all of those together. I think it was like 6 suitcase speakers and then the Xbox speaker. We lotted all of them together as like for parts only and sold them for $60 even, which was our full asking price. Somebody took that offer and picked it up for local pickup on Facebook Marketplace. And our out-of-pocket cost on all of that was $57.18 because we had broken down our cost of the items from the B-Stock pallet at $47.18 per listing. And then that Xbox speaker, we paid $10 for at a garage sale. So we are really glad to have all of those suitcase speakers out of our living room because they have actually been sitting downstairs in our living room this whole time, junking up the place. So we are really glad to see those go. Next up was a brand new sealed DVD that we got in the Goodwill bins. This was called Yoga Pulse System and it was a 6-disc DVD box set. Brand new sealed. This we paid $1.41 for. We got it that day where we got all the sealed DVDs. And this one only sold for $9.99, but still worth it. DVDs don't take up any space. And this one we sold on eBay. I'm onto all the eBay sales now. Next up was a Basic Editions women's gold satin tank top, and then it had like a sheer mosaic blouse that went over it. It was a 2-piece set. This we got in the storage auction. It sold pretty quickly for $15 even on best offer, and we had paid just 24 cents for the items in that storage unit. 24 or 23 depending on how I made my math work. Next up was an item we purchased on retail arbitrage, and we are really hit or miss on our retail arbitrage, so we do not do it very often because I don't think we're always very good at it. But this item, we picked it up because it was Paw Patrol and we thought, we got it on clearance and we thought, oh, Paw Patrol's popular, maybe it will sell. This was a Nickelodeon Paw Patrol Groom and Go 6-piece set. So it was like, it had a little fake razor in it and a little fake razor brush and some gel in it so you could pretend like you were shaving with Dad or something like that. Anyway, we had paid $4.34 for this on clearance, and it sat around in our store for maybe 2 or 3 years before it finally sold for $19.79, which was our full asking price minus a 10% off promotion. But we still made a great profit on it. It was just kind of big and it sat there for a really long time, so I don't think we would probably pick this up again. But it's really hard to know on retail arbitrage what will sell and what won't. At least for us it is. Next up was a Who What Wear women's ivory and black Swiss polka dot tank top with, it had a ruffle around the hem. This we got in the Goodwill bins. We paid $1.33 for it and it sold on offer to buyer for $14.38. Honestly, I'm not sure why we picked this item up because it's not like a brand that we would normally pick up. It might have been one of those things that accidentally got thrown in our cart and then left before we had a chance to comp, but we did get positive feedback on it and it didn't take too long to sell, so it ended up working out. Next up was a vintage Jansen men's ivory button-up acrylic grandpa sweater. We got this at a garage sale for $2. It was really recently that we picked this up, and it sold very quickly for $22 even on best offer, and we got positive feedback on it. I do remember that when we got it home, there was a stain on the arm, and I tried to kind of, spot clean it, and it would not budge. And I was like, oh man, it was an ivory sweater. I was like, we can't sell this. And my husband was like, we'll just put it in the wash. And I was like, that stain's not going to come out. I pulled it out of the wash and it was just fresh as a daisy. I was like, I could not believe that stain came out. So I was really glad about that. Next up was an Oneida 20-piece stainless steel Comet flatware set. It was a service for 4. We got this at the Shopaholics garage sale where they were cleaning out a bunch of items that this lady had purchased through like Home Shopping Network and QVC. She had just kind of overdone it a little bit, and this was one of the items that she had purchased. We paid just $5 for this, and it sold pretty quickly for $40 even on best offer. Next up was a lot of 5 I Funny books by the author James Patterson. They sold for $14.18, and we had paid $5 for those at a garage sale. I don't think we made tons on these because I think a lot of these were kind of heavy books, but they did sell. Next up was another item from the storage unit. This was a handheld body fat analyzer by the brand Taylor. This sold for $13.58 on offer to buyer, and we had paid just 23 cents for that. It was open and used, but we still had all of the original packaging, so that helped us, I think helped our sale. Next up was a pair of jeans that had belonged to me. They were really, really cute. I had just worn them a lot and I was kind of tired of them, so I decided to sell them. They were Princess by Vera Wang, so that was the brand that sold at Kohl's. And they had like this rainbow pixelated graphic print all over them. They were really cute. They sold for $15.18 on offer to buyer, and I had had those forever, so I don't know what my cost was on them, but we did get positive feedback on them. Next up was a vintage, the brand was Savoy, and it was a small red patent suitcase. I'm guessing it was probably like from the 60s. We got that at the illicit item garage sale. So I don't think I showed when we picked that up because I think our camera had died by the time we found that. We found that at the very, very end. But it was a really cool soft side suitcase. When we left that garage sale, we had stuck everything inside that suitcase that we picked up at that garage sale. And I remember walking out of the garage sale holding that suitcase, and I felt like a fancy lady from the 60s. But that we only paid $1 for that suitcase. We got great prices at that garage sale, and it sold for $55.18 on offer to buyer. So that was a really good flip. Next up was a pair of the yellow Barbie shoes. We had gotten an entire Ziploc bag full of yellow Barbie shoes in the Goodwill bins, which when you purchase stuff by weight, Barbie shoes is a great thing to find in the bins. These were, I wasn't able to figure out exactly which Barbie these went to, so I just described them as best as possible, and they sold for $10.99. We had paid just 61 cents for those, and we got positive feedback on them. Next up was a set of 2 stadium chairs. They were actually, the brand was called the Stadium Chair. These were really nice black canvas bleacher seats that had like a bungee bottom, and they were cushioned on the back. These we got at a garage sale for $1, and they sold for $69.99, which was our full asking price, and they sold pretty quickly. We do really well with bleacher seats. Even though they're big and heavy and bulky and difficult to ship, they usually sell quickly for us. So we tend to pick them up. We did get positive feedback on that, if I didn't mention that already. Next up was a General Motors, a GM Delco AM/FM vintage stereo that had been taken out of a car. And we got this at an estate sale. It was actually in a box, probably in the box of the stereo that they had replaced this older stereo with. And so I saw a bunch of people looking at it and passing on it, and I looked at it and was trying to decide if we were going to take it because $20 was a little bit high, but ultimately just decided to take it. And this was the very first day, the very first morning, within the first hour that this estate sale had been open, and we were having to, pay full price for everything. But this ended up being worth it. We paid $20 for it, and this sold very, very quickly for $75, even on best offer. And we got positive feedback on that item. Next up was a My Life as brown rubber saddle for a 21-inch posable horse. And this was a horse that would go with the 18-inch doll collection from Walmart. This sold for $11.98 on best offer, and this came from the big buy that I did of 18-inch doll items on the Facebook Marketplace buyout that I did. This we got positive feedback on as well. I think I paid around 50 cents per item for those items from that buy. Next up was another item from that big estate sale where we got that GM radio. This was a Garmin eTrex Venture handheld waterproof GPS navigator. So it was a little handheld device. You could use it when you were hiking or something like that to use GPS. And this we only paid $5 for. I was surprised they had it priced so low. It didn't have a power cord or anything with it. So we had to put batteries in it to see if it worked. And so I think maybe the people running the estate sale weren't sure if it worked. But anyway, $5 was a really low price for that item, I thought. But it did sell almost immediately. I think it sold the same day we had it listed for $47.68 on offer to buyer. And we got positive feedback on that item. Next up was something from the garage sale that we just aired, the one where we got all of the J. Crew items. We had the amazing return on our investment. This was a J. Crew Red Stewart tartan plaid perfect shirt. It had velvet dots all over it. It was really cute, perfect for Christmas. This sold for $45 even on best offer, and we had paid just $2 for almost everything at that sale. Next up was something we found in the Goodwill bins. This was a 4-pack of replacement ceramic Christmas bulbs. We got these in the bins. We paid 61 cents for them, and they sold for our full asking price of $8.99. Next up was a Torrid women's white sheer sleeveless top. I had gotten this at a garage sale for $1.50, and it sold on best offer for $17. Unfortunately, it was returned. The buyer stated that it was too sheer for her, and so she did return it, and we've relisted that item. Next up was that OtterBox Pop Symmetry hybrid case that we had returned previously because we made a mistake in the listing. That did resell. It resold for $13.48. We had paid $2 for that originally at a garage sale, but we were all in on that with our original shipping to the first buyer for $6.04. So we did recoup some of our cost on that with this second sale. Next up was a lot of 6 fake pomegranate pieces of fruit. I got this in like the very last hour of an estate sale that I went to. And I mean, that place was cleared out. There was hardly anything left. But I found a basket in the garage that had a bunch of fake fruit in it. And this pomegranate was in there. So I bought that whole basket of fruit. So I had paid just $1 for this at that estate sale, and it sold for $22.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was one of the toner printer cartridges that I got from the toner liquidation. This sold for $15 even on best offer, and I had paid $3.19 for that from the guy who was liquidating a bunch of his inventory. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was an item from the other business that we own. This was an 11 by 17 Estes Park 79th rooftop rodeo poster from Colorado. This sold for $14.99, which was our full asking price, and we had no cost on that. We got positive feedback on it as well. Next up was another one of the J. Crew shirts from the garage sale we just went to. This was a white ruffle neck classic fit boy shirt. It sold for $26.99 and we had paid just $2 for it. Plus we got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was another item from that really good estate sale that we went to where we got the Garmin and the radio. This was a really cute little plush vinyl reindeer, and it was kind of like mid-century looking, maybe 60s. It was red and ivory, and I had listed that it was about 10 inches. We had paid $3 for it. It had a little sticker on its forehead. When I got it back home and pulled the sticker off, I noticed that there was like bleed through marker on it. But the thing is, they had it priced at $3. When I pulled the sticker off and I saw that bleed through marker, I thought at first that it had bled through the sticker that I had peeled off. But I noticed that it said $2 and the sticker I'd peeled off was $3. And I was like, well, not only did they have a sticker bleed through, but they decided to put the sticker on top of it to hide it, which I thought was really uncool, and charge up for it. It's like, that is so uncool. So I used, a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser real gently on it to try to get it off. I used some Goo Gone to try to get it off, and it was just on there. I mean, there was no getting it off. So I disclosed it. I actually described it as a tattoo, and I'll show you on the screen how exactly I described that. It was not like really dark, it was a very faint mark on the reindeer. If I have a picture of it still, I'll show it on the screen. But it still sold very, very quickly. I mean, it was a really, really cute reindeer. And I noticed that these have a very good sell-through rate. If you do ever see any of these anywhere, they're definitely worth picking up at the right price. We had paid $3, like I said, unfortunately not $2. And it sold very quickly for $26.38 on offer to buyer. And we did get positive feedback on it despite it having that tattoo. Next up was a Hasbro Ugly Doll. Ugly Dolls also have a really good sell-through rate. We have had a real run of finding Ugly Dolls lately, and they have been selling really well for us. This one was the Ugly Dog, and this was one of the weighted ones that has a weighted bottom so that it will sit down really well on a shelf. This one we got at a garage sale. We paid $2 for it, and it sold for $12.68 almost immediately. Next up was another really good sale, and this was at it was like super end of the day, afternoon garage sale find. I could not believe this was still sitting there in a bin. This was a Ferris Bueller's Day Off replica movie sweater. So, it was a really high quality sweater vest replica of the one that Ferris Bueller wears in the movie. And I mean, it wasn't like a cheapy item that you would get at like a Halloween store. This was, a really super high quality one. This was like the quality of a sweater vest that you would just go buy at a Dillard's or something, but it was just made to look like the Ferris Bueller sweater vest. And it was just sitting there like thrown in a bin and nobody had picked it up. And immediately I knew what it was because I've seen that movie, 100 times or something. But I picked it up. They gave it to me for $2 and it sold immediately, even after Halloween, for $39.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was another item that we got at that estate sale where we got the reindeer and the Garmin and all of that stuff. And this was a Sony Walkman Sport yellow pair of headphones. And they were actually attached to a yellow portable tape player, but the portable tape player was not a Sony. So that whole unit was priced at $5. And when I picked it up, I saw that the headphones were marked Sony, but I also saw that the main unit was not Sony. So we were going really fast. The estate sale was super, super busy, and I was just throwing stuff in my bag. So I picked that up, and I remember seeing that the headphones were Sony and the other part was not, and like being confused by that, but thinking, well, that's probably worth it. So I threw it in my bag. And then when we got home, I was really pleased to see that the headphones were indeed Sony, and I was even more excited to see how valuable they were. I was quite surprised to see how valuable they were, actually. So I had marked in our spreadsheet that those headphones, that we paid $2.50 for those headphones, because I just divided the price in half, and they sold immediately for $49.99. So, and we had tested them and they worked and everything. Next up was another retail arbitrage item, and this item did really well for us. We had picked up a couple of these. This was a set of 2 paw and tail teal and white tie-dye ceramic pet bowl set. We had picked up a smaller version of this, like a cat size set, and then this larger version, which was like a dog size set. This was the dog size set, and this sold for $34.99. This was our full asking price, and we had paid just $4.45 for these on clearance. Next up was a book that we had picked up at a garage sale. This was called Eloquent JavaScript. It was probably a textbook. This we paid $3 for at a garage sale, and it sold immediately for $19.99. Next up was another one of the J. Crew shirts from that garage sale. This was a Stuart tartan plaid. It had jeweled buttons on it, and it was a popover. It was very Christmassy looking as well, so somebody probably bought it for Christmas. It sold immediately for $34.99, and we had paid just $2 for that. Next up was a 2010 Barbie Dreamhouse replacement vanity mirror. This was something that I had gotten in that big doll buy from Facebook Marketplace that had all the 18-inch doll items, but there were a bunch of other doll items in there like this. This sold for $14.99, and I had paid just 67 cents for it. Next up was an item that my husband got at a garage sale. The brand was Valerie Stevens, and it was a genuine rabbit fur women's Mad Bomber or Winter Trapper style hat. And it seemed like it was brand new because it still had like some of the little plastic hang tag things on it, like in 2 different places. But it also had some damage on it where the seams had come loose, and I actually repaired that on my sewing machine, and the way it had become damaged, I couldn't repair it perfectly. I kind of had to do it in a way where some seams showed. It's just kind of hard to explain without showing it, and I don't know if I have like a really good picture of it because it kind of became hidden in the fur, but if you pulled the fur apart you could see it. I just don't know that I can adequately explain it, but if I do have a picture of it from the listing, I'll show that here. But anyway, I did try to explain it in the listing, but we did eventually sell that for $39.98 on offer to buyer. We had paid just $1 for it at the garage sale, and we got positive feedback on it. So the buyer was happy with it. It was a really nice hat, and it was really cool looking. Next up was a set of 4 gold tone, bronze, and red jeweled button covers. They were vintage. We had gotten this at a garage sale, and we had paid just $1, and they sold for $14.99. And I do remember this particular garage sale. It was right down the street from us. And they had a lot of really good stuff. We actually got a lot of great stuff at this particular garage sale when we went that one time, and they had really great prices. And we came across this house having another garage sale like a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, let's stop at that house again because they had a lot of really good stuff for great prices. And when we stopped in this last time, all of their prices were like really high, and I was trying to negotiate somewhat with them on a few things. Like they had a radar detector, and I remember her saying, oh no, we've got to get this much for it because it's selling for this much online. And I remember thinking, okay, well, I guess this house is ruined now. So I don't know if we'll be stopping at that house anymore. I don't know. If we see it again, we might give them another shot. I mean, maybe if they didn't sell a lot from this last garage sale, if they decided that their prices were too high, maybe they'll go back to their old ways, but we'll see. Okay, next up was one of the free magazines that sold. This one was the Real Simple magazine from January 2018. I got this from the lady on Nextdoor, and it sold for $7.18 on offer to buyer. My cost was $0, and we got positive feedback. Next up, we resold those Ivanka Trump black patent heels. They had been returned previously, and we did resell them almost immediately for $45 even. We had originally paid $5.41, but we were all in on those for $13.56 with our original shipping to the first buyer. Next up was an item from the storage unit. This was a pair of men's Abercrombie & Fitch jeans. They had an irregular stamp on the inside of the waistband, so we did disclose that. And they sold for $18 even on best offer. We had paid 24 cents for those. Next up is a brand new bottle of Goldwell professional hair dye. The color was dark red beach, and we had gotten several of these bottles of hair dye at a garage sale. This is the first and only one that sold. This one sold for $12.99, which was our full asking price. We had paid just 80 cents for these. We haven't had them for very long, so I do think the other ones will sell. Next up was another one of those J. Crew shirts from that garage sale. This one was a red and black buffalo plaid flannel popover. This one sold for $23.78 on offer to buyer, and we had paid just $2 for that. Next up was an item that I got for free. I got several of these for free from someone who was advertising that she was just giving them away for free on Nextdoor. So I drove to go pick them all up. She had been sent the wrong size of these in her package, and so she was just giving away the sizes that she didn't need. This was a 2-pack of Philips Respironics under the nose nasal cushion. These are for use with a CPAP machine, but you can sell these. You can sell these under the nose cushions. I have thoroughly researched it. This particular part is not a prescription item. You can just go online. There's several places you can go online and purchase this. This part of it is not a prescription item, so it can be sold on eBay. But be cautious, because there are items related to CPAP machines that you cannot sell because they are prescription items. So pick up CPAP items with caution and be very cautious about listing CPAP items. But these particular ones you can list, and we got them for free, and we've almost completely sold out of them, or we may be sold out of them already. So this sold for $11.99, and like I said, our cost was $0. Next up, I'll go over all of the collectible cards from my husband's personal collection. We sold one high value card, which was a card valued at over $10. This was a Magic the Gathering Unlimited card. It was called Sinkhole. We've sold a few sinkholes in the past. This one sold for $24.99, which was our full asking price. Next up, I'll go over all of the low value cards, which were cards valued at $10 or under. This week, we only sold 2 cards for a total dollar value of $4.58. And that wraps up our sales for the week of November 5th through 11th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know by giving us a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to our videos, consider subscribing with the notification bells turned on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you on the flip side.